you are on the side, aren't you, that you feel that this goes too far?
Look, I think that's right, Darren. I think everyone has the aspiration of making the internet a safer and more wholesome place. But I think there are some very fundamental concerns about the government's online safety bill and the way the government's going about it. Despite their assertions that this is largely about protecting children, the vast majority of the provisions will apply to all adults. We're asking firms to take automated action to remove content that could be considered unlawful, and we're expanding the definition of what is unlawful to include content that is seriously distressing. Now, that's a recipe for people making malicious claims that other people's content is hurting their feelings and then putting impetus on firms to take down that speech or face large fines. We're also giving the government the power through the Secretary of State to assign areas of so-called legal but harmful material or content that is harmful to adults. Now, that's extremely authoritarian in nature. The fact that the government will be putting pressure on tech firms to censor what is legal speech, and that's going to include things like disinformation, things like climate denial, potentially in future under a Labor government. We really have the ability here for the government to make a limitless stream of content areas and then require firms to take action against them in their terms and conditions. So I think this is quite a frightening piece of legislation, and the government really needs to reconsider it before taking it any further through Parliament.
Do you get the sense, though, that in many ways, for right or wrong, or because people aren't as engaged in it as you are, that you're more out of step with public mood than the government on this, that the public really have a sense that protecting children online is a real priority, even at the expense of free speech?
Look, I don't think anyone's against the idea of protecting children online, particularly the removal of unlawful content from the internet. That's something it's a goal which is universally shared. In fact, companies are taking extensive action, and some would say a little bit too much action in terms of their content moderation when it comes to removing speech. And some of that is completely acceptable and understandable. The question is, first of all, will this legislation effectively work to make the internet a safer place? And there's a lack of evidence that putting all these duties on the companies will fundamentally improve the internet. In fact, it'll make it a much worse place and less safe place. Let's take the example of the government's duties in relation to protecting children when it comes to basically treating everyone as a child by default. Now, they're going to basically say to you, companies, that they can only show you child-appropriate content. That means things that could not distress a child unless you verify your identity. In order to verify identity, you're going to have to potentially go be scanned, and they're going to have to try to determine your identity from your actions, or they're going to ask you to enter your driver's license, passport or credit card. They're also giving the power to Ofcom to issue technology notices to companies in order to require them to use certain automated scanning technology, including potentially a private messaging, undermining encryption. Now, these are things like encryption and our privacy online, our ability to access information online. They're fundamental elements of online safety as well, and the way we use the internet. So I don't think this is as simple a matter of saying, well, this is a question of safety versus freedom. I think in many ways, in the very authoritarian nature of this legislation, the powers it gives to government will make many people less safe online, not more safe.
Welcome to the GB News YouTube channel. You can watch us live 24 hours a day, catch up on your favourite shows and join in the conversation in the comments below.
Don't forget to subscribe and you'll never miss any of our exclusive content.